All right, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Bullpen Blues. As always, I'm your co-host, Kevin Dixon, joined by our good buddy, David Esser. David, how we feeling today?
Kevin, what is going on? I was at the game today.
Yeah.
First time being at a baseball game in, close to 2 years now.
Yeah.
Obviously not a super fun game to watch, all things considered.
Top half of the first inning was good.
Yeah, that double steal was electric, right? But yeah, me and my brother, we got down to the park today. Got to see the Phillies in action. Got to see people mercilessly boo Bryce Harper, which is so lame, by the way, for them to continue to get over it.
Standing ovation when he was striking out, too.
So they cheer louder for when Harper strikes out than when they score a run. It is insane.
Well, you don't really have any fans.
Yeah, all 12 of their fans there today. But a frustrating end to the series. I think they definitely had an opportunity to capitalize. Last podcast, I went on record saying they got to come out of these 3 games with a sweep. I stand by that. I think this was a game they should have won, and they showed up a little bit flat.
Yeah. It always sucks, even when you win 2-3, to drop the finale, because then you walk away with a bad taste in your mouth. Overall, big series win on the road. I certainly feel good about that, especially rallying in the 9th inning the night before. It was the last night now. But dropping today and losing in the fashion that they did, just an absolute dud, always kind of leaves you with a sour taste walking away, because they should be able to sweep the Nationals. With that said, I'm still very happy taking 2 or 3. Now it's important that they can take 2 or 3 this weekend, because coming into this week, I stated to you, we need to go 4-2 minimum this week. 4-2 because it is early, but we're at the 38 game mark now. 38 games, we had 20-18. We're starting to get into the season a little bit. We're nearing the quarter pole mark here. So it's time to start stacking some wins. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They have been playing pretty good baseball overall. They've had some bad losses mixed in there. So they're on the upswing. However, we need to see 2 or 3 this weekend.
Yeah, and I forget who said it, but there's always that term out there: if you can't really judge a team until you're about 40 games into the season. And we're right at that threshold. We're at 38, and the Phillies are 2 games over 500, a game and a half back, which I think seems pretty appropriate. Yep. They've looked really good at times, and they've looked really bad at times. This afternoon was an example of that. Something that really stuck out to me, that frustrated me, even during Wednesday's game, was kind of the approach the team had from an offensive perspective against the likes of John Lester and Patrick Corbin. That was something we highlighted going into the series. These aren't 2 dominant pitchers like they used to be back in the day. And they made Lester look very, very good on Wednesday. Patrick Corbin looked like an ace from where I was sitting in the stands. That was frustrating. They left a lot of runners on base. They weren't particularly great with the runners in scoring position against Lester and Corbin. So it's things like that where, again, we've talked about it all season long. I want to see competitive baseball every single day. Look, they lose. It is what it is. They took 2 or 3. That's a productive 3 games of baseball. But you're right. It's kind of that sour taste, the manner in which it happened against a divisional rival, kind of another unnecessary loss tossed onto the stack of unnecessary losses. Zach Eflin didn't really have his stuff early on in the ball game. Yep. It's kind of, you put all those together, you're right. It's not a particularly great feeling. And they kind of needed that momentum because, look, Toronto's playing some really good baseball at the moment. They're coming off a sweep of their own against Atlanta. So, yeah, a little bit frustrating. Again, 2 of 3 is productive, but I would have liked to see more against, in my opinion, kind of a bottom feeder in the National League in terms of the Nationals.
Yeah, they're not very good. And the salt in the wound for me was Josh Bell going deep. Because he's not good. And that was a bomb. He ran into one there. I spent a lot of the offseason bashing that move from the Nationals. A lot of people were high on it. That guy's not very good. They got him out all week until today, and I'm not sure if that ball's landed yet. That was an absolute blast. Eflin settled in, but the damage was done at that point. It didn't really matter. They only got a run because they stole home. I mean, they didn't knock anybody in. We talked about this before too. They took 2 or 3. It's great, but we've even mentioned before, winning the final game of the series always feels better. Even because I remember they dropped 2 or 3 to Atlanta, but they won the finale, and we were kind of like, all right, coming off a win, that's always good. It just feels weird to kind of be like, damn, after taking 2 or 3 against a division rival. But, I mean, that's where we're at. However, I'm never really going to complain about winning 2 out of 3 games because if they can consistently do that, we'll be where we need to be towards the end of the year.
Yeah, and I want to pivot back to Eflin. I'm glad you brought him up because he was kind of a guy. I had my brother with me. He doesn't follow the Phils as closely as we do, as closely as our listeners do. So I was kind of explaining him. I was like, yeah, Zach Eflin, like he's pitching real well at the moment. Like he's become a legit, one of the better number 3s in baseball. And then right on cue, right, he gives up 4 home runs to Kyle Schwarber too, who again is not very good. I mean, him and Josh Bell are both hitting under 200 at the moment. Like those moves haven't worked out for the Nationals. But I saw some flashes there for a moment of that 2019 Eflin, where it's kind of one end or the other with him, and I want him to settle more in that middle. He looked great the rest of the afternoon, which is promising. I think he'll be okay in the next start. But it's kind of those, I don't know if they're mental lapses or just, a pitch slips once in a while, if Knapp called the wrong pitch, whatever the situation is, it's going to be tough to win ball games when your starting pitcher is spotting the team a 4-1 lead to start the ball game off. By no means am I out on Eflin. I still think he's going to be pretty good. But I do think Thursday was kind of just a little thorn in the side of, all right, keep an eye on this because now, Eflin's ERA is back kind of in that high 3 range. He's kind of hovering around that. Well, he might be a +3. He might just be kind of an average 3. So I just think it's something to keep an eye on is, are these types of outings against bad teams going to be frequent, or was this just a one-off with Eflin and he'll come out next week and be dominant again?
I think that's the thing. We got to see how he responds because this is his first outing this year where it's not even that he didn't have his stuff. He just missed some spots early in the game, and they made him pay. You got to tip your cap to the Nationals there. I mean, they made him pay for 2 mistakes that he made. He left the ball over the plate twice, and they crushed both of them. He kind of settled in after that. He gave up that additional run later on, but there was a stretch there. He struck out, 6 or 7 in a row. But we got to limit that first inning damage because that's something that Eflin was doing previously when he was very inconsistent. He'd have that one inning that killed him. Now we want to make sure that he comes out and he rebounds next week because he's very important to this ball club. He's very important, especially when you have 2 question marks at the back of that rotation. They need Zach Eflin to make days like today really rare. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and something I noticed is that the Phillies have now lost back-to-back Nola Eflin starts, right? Nola came out shaky against Atlanta over the weekend, and then Eflin coming out today. And look, Nola, Wheeler, Eflin, you're not going to win every game these guys pitch. But again, that's kind of something that needs to become a rarity, where when those 3 guys are pitching, you need to feel very confident you're winning 2 to 3 of those games at minimum. This past week, they only won 1, and that was a game where they had to rally late and scramble in extra innings and do all of that nonsense. So
it was a fun win, though.
What's up?
That was a fun game Tuesday night.
Oh, I was electric.
The finale of it, the end of it was great.
Yeah, but again, I do think it's worth kind of pointing out that look, they did win 2 of 3. Wasn't the cleanest 2 wins. Obviously the Eflin stuff is a little bit concerning. The offense going dry at times is concerning. There's other players we're going to touch on here who are really, really struggling at the moment. So it's a good 2 or 3. I don't think it's a great 2 or 3, and I do think it kind of continued to raise some red flags with this team of, are they going to be able to get over that hump and start consistently just racking up wins after wins after wins, which for all intents and purposes is kind of what the New York Mets are doing at the moment, where they've started to find their groove, and now it's like rattling off 7 straight. They might lose a couple, and they're going to rattle off 7 straight again. It's like that's kind of the groove I need to see the Phillies get into moving forward.
Yeah, but we talked about this last night. The big thing about the Mets run right now for the Phillies is the Phillies have kind of heated up at the perfect time because even with the Mets winning 7 in a row, we have the standings scrolling across the bottom right now. They're only a game and a half back. The Phillies run really coinciding.
Oh, hang on, timeout. Buzzword. Only X game back.
You're getting to me here. They've won 7 in a row. They could be like Atlanta right now, who's 4 back. Miami's 4.5 back. The Phillies got their stuff together here. Kind of perfect timing with the Mets ripping off 7 in a row because look, the Mets they're not gonna continue to win and win and win every single day. It's big that the Phillies haven't allowed to happen what the Braves have allowed to happen, who now find themselves 4 games back. Now the Braves have some significant ground to make up here.
Yeah.
I mean, the Braves are now. I mean, the Phillies are 5 back in the loss column. The Braves are now 7 back in the loss column to the Mets. Uh, I mean, the Mets' early COVID situation where they didn't play a ton of games early kind of has them set to where they've played significantly less games than the rest of the division. But there's no taking away what the Mets are doing right now. They're playing very good baseball. I mean, 7 in a row, 7 in a row. You know, it's not a bad spot to be in for the New York Mets. The whole point I'm trying to make is if the Phillies were continuing to sputter as they were, I don't know, 14 days ago, they could find themselves multiple games back at this point.
Yeah, and I think that kind of just brings the conversation back to making sure games like today don't happen.
Yep, you got to minimize them for sure.
Because look, that's a game again. You had Eflin on the mound. You're feeling pretty good. Corbin entered that game with a 7.36 ERA, and they weren't able to capitalize. And look, you move on. Now you got to face Toronto, who's up a much better ball club than Washington. You're going to have to seriously elevate the manner in which you play over the next couple of days compared to what they put up in Washington. Because again, the performances in Washington weren't all that impressive, outside of a few flashes of offense here or there. But now it's again, look, they're playing catch up. It's still early, but they are playing catch up. So you got to start kind of stacking some wins, maybe where you weren't initially expected to. And then going on the road against the Blue Jays is kind of one of those scenarios where it's like, all right, are you a 500 ball club or are you a good ball club who's going to win 2 or 3?
2 or 3 this weekend would be big, man, especially with Velasquez and Anderson on the mound. That's the one big concern for me. I think there's going to be a lot of runs in tomorrow's game because the Phillies have been known to beat up on Steven Matz, and you really never know what you're going to get with Vince Velasquez. And Toronto is a good offense, so there should be some runs on the board tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a good time to kind of pivot towards the offense because, again, we kind of saw the inconsistent Phillies where, specifically this week with JT missing time, it really put a lot of burden on Bryce Harper to kind of do everything. And it was kind of a matter of when he wasn't hitting, this offense wasn't working. Even in the game today that I was at, that double steal was orchestrated by Harper getting on base with 2 strikes.
Yep.
He did a great job driving a ball up the middle of the field, infield single. They were able to pull off the double steal. And then for the rest of the game, it just felt like guys were coming up to the plate. People were striking out. People were grounding out. People were striking out. People were grounding out.
A lot of ground outs, it felt like today.
A ton. Yeah, Corbin had him completely fooled at
the plate. Good, man. You got to tip your cap to Corbin. He was on.
I'm not tipping my cap to Corbin.
He was on.
I'm not tipping my cap to nice things. But yeah, so again, I don't know what JT's status is moving forward, but it still goes beyond the argument of it can't just be Bryce and JT. Reese has got to be more productive if he's going to. I mean, he was batting cleanup the last 2 days, which just didn't really work.
Yeah, he shouldn't be second.
No, he should be deeper in the lineup. Obviously, Odubel gave him some pop, but look, Bohm was really, really pressing at the moment.
Killing him, man.
Yeah, he's really struggling. Gene kind of back to where he was at the beginning of the season, not hitting. He's not going to hit 350 for the rest of the season.
For sure.
But, they're going to have to start stacking together more well-rounded approaches at the plate besides just, maybe Harper hits a home run today and we win, right?
Yeah, they actually manufactured a run the other day, and it was kind of like, wow, did that really just happen? I think it was like a walk, steal second, or it might have been a double. They moved them over with a sack bunt to third, sack fly. I mean, that never happens with the Phillies.
It's a thing of beauty, man.
Yeah, it's amazing. What happens when you actually are trying to put runs on the board instead of just hitting the ball out of the ballpark. But you mentioned Odubel. Huge week. They really needed someone else to step up. He's been fantastic the past week on the field. I think he entered today 9 for his last 23. He had a hit today, I believe. He seems to really be settling into that role. They moved him up in the lineup. I thought it was going to – I texted you, 0 for 4 incoming. Dud's going to come out, and he got another hit today. They really needed something from center field, and he's really kind of settling into that role really nicely.
I mean, I'll take you one step further. I don't think he's just settling in. I think he's taken this job and really got away with it. And again, look, we've talked about this before. We're fully aware what Odubel did in 2019.
Yeah, we do not condone it.
Really, really bad stuff. You could make the argument he should not be in Major League Baseball, but unfortunately –
on the team.
Yeah, or on the team. Whatever the case is. Very clear argument for him not to be employed by Major League Baseball, But the bullpen Blues, look, we're not the commissioners. We don't get to make those decisions.
Yep.
We're not Dave Dombrowski. But he's playing, and he's playing really well. His OPS, I think, over the last 8 days is over 1,000. His batting average is climbing up to that 250 mark every single time he gets to the plate. He looks like a knucklehead out there sometimes, sliding into first base, bat flipping walks, whatever the case is. But yeah, you're totally right. He's given him production, which was huge because there was like a 3-week stretch there where it was just automatic out in the 8-hole every single game, and it was crazy that they managed to win some baseball games during that stretch because they legit had an 8-hole and a 9-hole that never touched the baseball with their bat.
Yeah, the home run last night was massive. I think it was big too. The team has rallied around that situation, and we're not going to get into it further, but the team's embraced them, which is very important. Bryce Harper came out, very supportive words last night. Look, we can have our opinion. Everyone, I totally get people that don't want him on the roster. You're perfectly fine to feel that way. I completely understand where you're coming from, but like you said, we're not in charge of the roster. We're just here to talk about the Phillies. He's been good. You can't ignore that. And you just got to hope that he continues to play well. Knowing Odubel, he'll hit 370 this month, and then he'll come out in June and just fall flat on his face. The bat flipping with the walk, the bat flipping's kind of corny, but I love the emotion, the clapping. People have been kind of hating on that. That stuff's contagious. Not a lot of guys on the Phillies are like that. So to see that is nice. The first slide in the first base needs to stop. He's going to break his damn hand, let alone that it slows you up anyway. It's been proven that running through the bag gets you there quicker. He's going to break his hand or something. I cringe every single time he does it. I don't know why he does it. Like you said last episode, it looks cool, but I mean, it hasn't.
It looks super cool.
Yeah, hasn't done anything for him. Now, every time he does it, I'm like, dude, he's going to break something. It just looks awful.
Yeah, well, the energy thing is a good point. It's a big reason we like Brad Miller so much on this show, right? Because he kind of, just a little bit of spark. He had another hit today, right? That's all he does is hit the baseball. It just kind of has a little bit of spark to him where it seems like he's just really excited to be out there playing baseball. And that's no knock on some of the other players. Everyone has different personalities. I mean, even Bryce Harper's a rather quiet guy for kind of the brand that he has, which is crazy. But yeah, Odubel, look, he's out there. He's clapping up the walks. He's bat flipping everything. And it's like, yeah, it's a little obnoxious, but I do kind of appreciate a little bit of added energy because it looked like the Phillies were dead in the water on Wednesday. And he came out looking to hit a home run, and that's what he did. And then they got
a hanger, man. Yeah. I thought it was going to hit the wall. I was yelling at my TV, get up, get up.
He smoked that thing. What's going on?
But yeah, big win last night, and it really changed the outlook today because if they dropped last night and tonight, look, we've already come into this episode where we're kind of like, we want better. Mm-hmm. Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I believe I tweeted out that if they lost the series in the Nats, I was going to go on a historic level rant. So we'll say that. We'll say that
when they get swept this weekend or something.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so all right, so looking ahead, right? We got the Blue Jays, and I was actually on a Blue Jays podcast earlier tonight, talking some Blue Jays. And again, look, they're coming off an impressive stretch of baseball, and you've already highlighted the major concern is we got Vince going tomorrow night, Chase Anderson on Sunday. Like, can they even win one of those starts, Kevin?
I mean, they can. If Vince comes out and does what he does the last two outings, they'll have a very good chance to win that ball game tomorrow. But you just never know with Vince Velasquez, man. You really just never know what you're going to get. I'm hoping that when I pop the TV on at work that I don't see, bottom of the first, 32 pitches for Velasquez, 2 guys on, 2-0 Blue Jays. I really don't. I'm over that with Velasquez, man. Let's get 5 or 6 tomorrow from him. I'd love 7 if he wants to go 7.
When's the last time you went 7 innings?
It has to be his 16-game strikeout game that he's made a career off of.
Yeah, like years ago. He's not doing that. But no, I think that's worth bringing up with Anderson too, because I was very critical of Anderson on Tuesday, and I'm remaining steadfast in that take that he has not been good enough, and he was not good enough Tuesday. And they won that ball game. Luckily, the bat.
I thought he was okay.
I disagree. I think again, you paid him $4 million.
Yeah.
The word they used was innings eater. Kevin,
he hasn't been this.
He's not. He's barely getting them through 5 most nights, and it's the same with Vince, where you flip on the TV, you look at Chase Anderson, you're like, oh, he's like through 2 innings, he's cruising. Then you look up at the pitch count, he's at 55 pitches.
Yeah,
it's just like, what are we doing here? Let's pound the zone. Let's work some counts. Let's generate some production here, because we're paying you $4 million to be an above average number 4. Right now, he's like an average to below average number 5. I mean, his ERA is north of 5.2, which is not acceptable. Look, he's facing his former team this weekend. Obviously, the Blue Jays, they have a ton of offensive power between Bo Bichette, Guerrero, Marcus Semien, like they ton of offense on that team. But it's maybe this is an opportunity against some guys he's pitched against before in spring training or whatever the case was, to give us a productive outing. But I just first and foremost, let's record an out in the 6th inning. Chase. Yeah, that's the number one goal I feel like for him this weekend, is record an out in the 6th inning.
I was kind of annoyed with Girardi. If you're going to be that quick with the hook in the 6th, then they should have pinch hit for him. I mean, there's no question. I get why they took him out, but if you're not going to pinch hit there, I talked about it on the last episode. One of these outings, Girardi's just going to have to let him go a little bit. First sign of adversity there in the, the 6th inning, he gave up a home run and he gave up a walk. I do want to say this to Trey Turner and Juan Soto, damn good players, man. There's no shame in that happening to you, especially your 3rd time facing them. I thought the hook was too quick, man. He was at 85 pitches.
I want to say he was north of 90.
I think he was at 90. I believe he was at 90 on the dot.
And I think that's where I don't disagree with you, especially when you bring in the pinch hitting argument. If the hook was going to be that short, you're fully aware Soto and Turner are up next in the lineup. He's going to have to pitch against them. No, he was at 85 pitches. You're correct.
Was it 85? Okay.
Yeah. With that said, I still think I'm going to defend Joe a little bit here, because I still think part of it is on Chase to not be at 85 pitches, heading into the 6th inning. I think, again, you want to see him kind of chew through the lineups a little bit more. Look, yeah, it's Trey Turner and Juan Soto, which I want to throw this out there. I actually thought the Phillies did a pretty good job navigating around those two.
Yeah.
Specifically Soto. I thought they handled him pretty well. They kept him
up all once today.
Yeah. So
Maton made.
Yeah, maybe they're starting to figure him out a little bit, which would be fantastic.
One can only hope, dude.
One can only hope. But yeah, so I still think part of it's on Chase. I think, look, if we're playing on Sunday and Chase is through 5 and he's at 65 pitches, he's at 70 pitches, Joe's going to let him pitch the 6th as long as he doesn't get absolutely hammered out there.
He better do.
I think it's just a matter of Chase has got to get there first, because he hasn't done it yet.
No, and like you did mention, he's familiar with the guys that he's facing this weekend, so be interesting to see how it goes. Hopefully the Phillies win the first 2 games of the series, so it's not all on Anderson to win the series on Sunday, because I wouldn't feel too good about that situation.
Yeah, and especially with Robbie Ray on the mound too for Toronto, who's pitching pretty good this year.
You know what though? The Phillies need to be prepared to work the count with Robbie Ray, because he'll walk you. He'll absolutely walk you. So they need to be prepared to see a lot of pitches this weekend and make him work, get into the bullpen.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think that kind of goes back to the offensive approach that this team has, which I didn't think was very good against Lester. I didn't think was very good against Corbin, where it's kind of know your pitcher, know the situation, kind of don't be afraid to grind out some of these at-bats. Like I said, it doesn't always need to be a home run, and it doesn't always need to be a walk. There's a healthy balance between all of these, which I feel like the team outside of Harper, outside of JT, you just threw up JT's stat number. He's hit 438 over the last 7 days, which is insane. Yep. Again, I think he's going to play this weekend. He's not on the IL, so he should be okay.
He's on that COVID list, so we'll see how it ends up going.
He should be back soon.
This is how it was supposed to come up, so I apologize to our viewers.
Oh no, it still looks fantastic. So yeah, outside of Harper and JT, if we can start getting, again, kind of that better approach, whether it's against a Robbie Ray, whether it's against a Matz tomorrow night, where you kind of know your pitcher, you're not afraid to battle, you're not afraid to maybe shorten up the swing a little bit, like that. That's what I want to see this weekend against the Blue Jays.
And we talked about how they've seen Matz. It's going to help the Phillies. Like they've seen him a lot over the years, so it's not unfamiliarity. We don't even know who's pitching Saturday. Do we have any idea who it may be? I don't really have a clue.
I'd have to go look at the rotation.
I mean, I don't really know off the top of my head who it could be.
Yeah, neither do I.
It's not Ryu, is it? I would think it wouldn't be.
Again, another guy I wouldn't particularly want to see this weekend.
I don't want to see 3 left-handers in a row.
No, sir.
I'll tell you that. Stripling pitched today, so it's not going to be him.
So who pitched on Monday for him?
Might have been Ryu, man.
Yeah. Well, it's TBD for a reason. Maybe they got something weird in mind.
Might be an opener situation,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was Stripling pitch today. They only have 4 guys listed in their rotation.
Okay.
Now, Ryu threw to 12th. So what was that, yesterday?
Yep.
So it's not going to be Ryu.
All right.
It might be like a Tedrick Thornton or something, or a Trent Thornton. It might be an opener type of situation.
And then they might bullpen the game, which wouldn't –
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, look, this is a very good ball club. I believe you said they're coming off 2 straight sweeps.
I think so. I know they swept the Braves.
They swept Atlanta, who one of these episodes I'm going to get you to admit that they're not as good as people think they are.
The 3-time reigning NL East champ.
Who cares what they did before? We're talking about here and now, brother. Mike Soroka's got an exploratory surgery on his Achilles tendon.
Yeah, he's probably done for the year.
Acuna got hurt today, although his x-rays were negative. Atlanta's in trouble, brother.
Yeah, time out. How many times is Acuna going to act like his season?
Did you say it? Did you say it?
No, I saw him rolling around.
That's what I mean. Like, it looked really bad, and it was like he's day-to-day.
Well, that's what happened with the Coonrod pitch. I thought he'd fractured his hand the way he was pitching, and they come out and it's like, yeah, he has a pinky bruise. And I was like, dude.
Now, look, this is a guy who – look, I won the championship, so it is what it is. I apologize, Phillies fans. But I have Acuna in a keeper league, fantasy baseball. Had him for a couple of years now. Every time the guy gets some type of bruise, my heart drops because, like, he's a huge part of my roster. Today, I'm thinking, oh, no. And then it's like, oh, no, he's day-to-day. He could return this weekend. It's ridiculous.
He's likes the attention.
It's unbelievable.
All right, Kevin, we'll start wrapping things up here. I got 2 kind of unique topics I want to touch on real quick. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss?
No. No. I'm all ears, dude. What you got for me?
Okay, point number 1. John Heyman tweeted out this afternoon. I don't know if you saw.
I saw it.
Anibal Sanchez
in
a 100-pitch bullpen. And now Heyman's tweeted this a few times where he's like, a team's going to sign Anibal any day now. And like he tweeted that like a month ago, and it hasn't happened. Now, 100 pitches is a lot, especially for Anibal. We know the Phillies have checked in with Anibal multiple times over the past couple of months. We know Dave Dombrowski has a relationship with Anibal. Like he's right there if they want to go that route.
I mean, it can't hurt to have that depth, Like it really can't. I don't know if he's the answer. I'm not going to look. If they sign Anibal Sanchez, they still need to be looking to make a move at the deadline. I would be really upset if that's a move they make and then they're like, we're good. We have enough rotation arms now, because that's not the case.
Yeah, and I think if anything, if they do sign Anibal, it would more so be a declaration that Chase Anderson failed as an experiment, because I would expect them to go target a number 4 around the deadline, and then Anibal is your number 5. That's what I would expect that signing to be, which again, I don't know if they're there yet with Chase Anderson. Some of the fans might be. I don't know if the organization is after handing him $4 million. Like that's quite. But I mean, they've already pulled the trigger on Matt Moore. He's done. He's not starting another game.
Yeah, I'm still intrigued about him in the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, he was pitching garbage innings today. 1, 2, 3 inning.
That's all right though. That's what your mop-up guy is supposed to be there for.
Yeah,
that's what David Hale was meant to be. And Girardi's throwing him into these high leverage situations, and it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, except you don't want to pay your mop-up guy $3 million, which is what
true. Yeah, very true, very true.
So yeah, we'll see with the Anibal thing. If he even gets signed, where he gets signed. I wouldn't be surprised if a team like Atlanta even checked in on him, because it looks, they're hurting in the starting pitching department right now. They're seriously understaffed there.
That's why I'm saying they're in trouble. They don't have any.
I agree, they're in trouble. Like losing Soroka, huge. Max Fried doesn't look healthy. Like these are issues. I'm not ready to call them bad. 38 games into the season after 3 straight years of them just dominating the division.
It's in the past, though, man.
It's important historical context.
I mean, it is, but
very important.
It's not this year, though. Like, I get it. They have a lot of the same players. Like, I understand that, but
I'm not anywhere close to ruling out the Braves winning this division.
I'm not either. But I'm just saying, if we're going to be critical of the Phillies, who have a winning record against Atlanta this year, and they're 2.5 games above them in the division, it's not really fair that we're being super hard on the Phils, and then we're like, Atlanta will be all right. They'll rebound.
Well, if the Phils had won the division 3 years in a row and almost made the World Series last year, I wouldn't be this critical. Like,
I get it. I get what you're saying.
The Braves are what, like an out away from going to the World Series last year? Like they get the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
That's like very important.
You did say around the 40-game mark is when you start to form an opinion on a ball club. We're getting very close.
Oh yeah, well, and like I said, my opinion is they're hurting for starting pitching. Doesn't mean they can't improve it. Just like we're expecting.
Sure,
right.
Yeah.
And I think we're all in agreement. The Phillies don't have the most amount of prospects to outbid teams if that's where we get to. All right, so moving forward, the other point I wanted to talk about real quick is Rhys Hoskins. Who he had an RBI last night.
He had a big hit last night.
He did. It was awesome. Kind of classic Rhys, turning over the ball, hitting it real hard in the left field. His numbers are still way down. Look, and you can pull up the Baseball Savant page. You see the hard hit percentage, you see the barrel percentage, and then you see his chase percentage and his whiff percentage. And it's a tale of two stories with Rhys. We've talked about it before on this episode. I've written articles about it in the past. Kevin, something I've noticed. I noticed it with Harper. I noticed it with Juan Soto when he hits. I noticed it with a few other players. It is players, opening up their stance, shortening up their swing a little bit with 2 strikes. And it's a change Harper made, I want to say late in 2019, early 2020.
No stride. He goes no stride with 2 strikes.
Yeah, and he just puts the ball in play. And look at his batting average. I mean, he's batting 300, which is like insane for Harper. That's not something he does. Like I said, you see Soto do it a ton as well. And it really produces productive at-bats time after time when they shorten up the swing, they open up the stance, they stop the huge leg kick. I'm like, why? Like, Rhys should be doing that, right?
I mean, you would think.
Yeah. And it's like, I understand, kind of the boom or bust potential of letting him swing for it all on 2 strikes. If he makes contact, it's probably going to be good. But I feel like we've seen, as a sample size gets larger and larger with him, I do think it's time for him maybe to adjust the way he views specifically 2 strike counts.
Yeah, and look, the thing that made Rhys so valuable with his validity offensively is he consistently got on base. Now, look, we spent a lot of the offseason saying we wanted him to be more aggressive. But there's a middle ground that he has not found because, David, he's not walking at all. Like, drastically, his walk rate is down drastically. It kind of is what saved him offensively when he was going through these ridiculous spells that he goes through. I gave you a stat the other day. What was it? It was in a 6-game span, which included that Colorado series, he had 4 homers, or it might have been 6 homers. 6 homers and like X amount of RBIs. The other 29 games at the time, he had 2 homers and 9 RBIs. He has really not done anything aside from that spurt between, I think it was St. Louis and Colorado. Might have been San Francisco, Colorado. Whoever was mixed in with the Colorado series. He hasn't done anything at all. And he's not getting on base, which is something that saved him. He's become almost unplayable at times. And they have a fantastic option waiting in the wings in Mr. Brad Miller, who's now hitting .305 on the year. David, they need to continue to find ways to get Miller in the lineup. And if that means they need to sit Rhys Hoskins, it is what it is, man. He's not a good enough offensive player right now to justify sitting him in the lineup every night.
Yeah, and look, you know how I feel about Brad Miller. I'm with you there. I think for what it's worth, I think Bohm might be the guy getting some days off moving forward because he needs a spell off.
I want to use both of them, man, because Miller can play both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maton in the lineup too.
Absolutely. Maton's another guy who's just grinding out at bats every time he steps to the plate. I'm totally on board with you there. With Rhys, and look, the on base thing. Like if pitchers are throwing you strikes, don't just take them for the sake of trying to work a walk, right? Like we're all in agreement that him being aggressive is the best version of Rhys Hoskins. Like, we like that. We need him driving in runs. In a perfect world, he's this team's cleanup hitter for the next 10 years, right? Like, that's always been the expectation with Rhys. The problem is, for whatever reason, he can't find that balance, like you mentioned. He's either all the way on the walk, I'm gonna Joey Votto this to the very end, or I'm all the way down at I'm gonna be a 200 hitter, but I'm gonna hit 30 home runs every year. And it's like I need the middle ground, right? Because if this team wants to go significant places, like Rhys plays a part in that. Like that's just how this team has been constructed, is with the idea that Rhys Hoskins is an all-star caliber bat behind a Bryce Harper, in front of a JT Realmuto, like whatever the situation is. Until he can figure that out, like you're right, it's totally tough, and that's where I kind of go back to the two-strike approach. Like, let's give me a bloop single once in a while, go opposite way once in a while. Like, it doesn't always have to be 110 miles per hour off the bat when he gets on base.
There's just too many players in baseball who can hit 30 homers and hit 215. He's a replacement level player right now. It's just the truth of the matter. It's just is what he is. There's just too many guys that are just like him in baseball to justify him being a part of the core of the roster. And I understand the fans like him so much because he's a likable guy, but that only gets you so far, man. Like, we're trying to win. Does he give him the best chance moving forward? At this time, probably. But realistically, moving forward, not really. No, I wouldn't break a sweat if they moved on from him.
Yeah, and then I'm probably not all the way there yet, even though for some reason people on Twitter.
I'm not saying get rid of the guy.
Yeah, no,
he's not someone that I'm like, you cannot trade him. We're not there. Yeah,
no, he's, like I said, and again, I think it just comes back to him kind of maybe reconstructing how he views his plate appearances at the moment. Because I think if he can do that, and get on base via a single once in a while, a lightly hit, just bloop over the shortstop. Like, those are so beautiful, right? Like, or doing a job when there's nobody out and a man on first and second. Like, I don't need a home run. I need you to get that runner to third base. Like, that's what I need. And I feel like we're not there yet for whatever reason. It could be the hitting coach. It could be Girardi. It could be Hoskins. It could be his trainer, like whoever. But that's just something I noticed watching Soto hit, because he's such a student of the game. He does such a great job adjusting the pitches. It's just something I noticed that I thought, like, why isn't our guy doing that too?
It's also, to be fair, Juan Soto is top 10 offensive player in the entire league.
Yes.
It's not really a fair comparison, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And hey, man, I totally agree. And this is coming from someone who I've never really been a huge Rhys Hoskins guy. His splits always indicated that he helped dramatically by playing Bank Park. So it's the Coors Field effect. Now the fans are in love with the guy, and he's a replacement level player. It is what he is, and that's not to say he stinks, but he's not a star. Certainly not a star. And he should probably be hitting 6th or 7th. Right now, him hitting 4th, I don't think is the worst thing while JT's out, because he can still run into one. But yeah, it's just a new week, same story with Rhys Hoskins from us, man. Need to see more.
Yeah, and look, say this every time we get on the pod. Fingers crossed we're sitting here on Sunday praising his butt off, talking about how great he is. I mean, we're there every single week. Like I said, look, I'm hoping Chase Anderson's my Philly of the week come Sunday. I'd make my day, Kevin.
He could. If he comes out and wins another start, he might be, man.
Yeah, wins another. All right, I see the little jab. No, yeah. All right, Kevin. Anything else before we sign off tonight?
I do want to say it's Mickey Moniak's 23rd birthday today.
It is.
Yeah. The number 2 Mickey Moniak podcast in the world.
The number 2.
Felt like we had to shout that out.
Hey, and shame on me for not bringing it up. So good job, man.
That's all right. I got you.
Happy birthday, Mick.
That's what I'm here for.
I guess last thing we wanted to point out real quick is we barely even touched on it. The new kind of visual overlay we got going on.
Yeah.
Trying something new. Kevin, the mastermind behind the scenes, all credit goes to him for this one. So let us know if you have an opinion. If you
anything you want to see, I'm trying to look. The more we get into it, the better the banners, and there's not going to be mistakes like earlier when I put this up when it was supposed to be a ticker and not just like a banner. The more comfortable I get with that, you won't be seeing those mistakes moving forward.
Yeah, and then all the people on Apple Podcasts and Spotify have no idea what we're talking about.
No clue. But you know what? They got to check out YouTube because we're making moves here.
Yes, subscribe to the YouTube channel. The link down in the description. As always, check it out. It's free to subscribe. All right, Kevin. Back at it again tomorrow night, taking on Toronto.
Let's get it.
Big series. Vince on the mound.
Ooh.
Looking for another good start from him.
Yep.
With that said, we are the Bullpen Blues Podcast. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor. We're on Twitter and Facebook. We are on YouTube, as I just said. Check out all of those links. They're all down below. Every single one of those links down below. And we'll be back here on Sunday to recap a series sweep over Toronto.
Sweep incoming. Get those brooms ready. 2 or 3 at least.
2 or 3. All right, let's do it. Yeah, we're the Bullpen Blues Podcast. We'll catch you on a couple of days.
Yep.